Good day, everyone, and welcome. Today we have the privilege to speak to Professor Leepile Sehularo. He is a senior researcher and a huge contributor in NUMIC. Good day, Prof Leepile, and welcome.
Good day, Prof Merensia. Thank you.
I know that you have a love for mental health and you make a significant contribution in that field. And today you would like to talk about writing for publication. And we are looking forward to hear what you are saying.
Thank you, Prof.
Tell us more.
Okay. Thank you for the wonderful introduction. Leepile Sehularo. I obtained all my degrees here in Northwest University, Potchefstroom and Mahikeng campuses, but I joined the Northwest University in 2011 as a junior lecturer. So today we are talking about writing for publication. In Northwest University, we have a 2020 manual for higher degree studies. And according to that manual, as researchers or students can write their dissertations or thesis following chapter or article format. So I'm an advocate of article format. I know we have different perceptions, experiences about chapter and article format, but I am the advocate for article format. I have produced 4 PhDs and 12 master's nursing students. And the 4 PhDs that I have produced, 13 articles were published from those 4 PhD candidates and 2 are accepted. Meaning by the end of this year, I'll be having 15 published articles from the 4 PhD candidates. Now, for the masters, I published 12, as I've mentioned, but only 7 articles were published, 1 accepted, and the other 4 are submitted. This is why I'm saying I'm the advocate of article format because with article format, you kill 2 birds with 1 stone. You teach the student how to write and how to publish. I always say to people, if a student is able to follow NUMIC proposal guidelines, then that student can also follow the journal guidelines. It is the same process as long as you do what you are requested to do.
I think we can really look at you as a good example of someone who manages to publish based on the work that you have done. And I'm looking forward to all the recommendations and tips that you have for us. And also, the first thing you are saying is that if you can follow the NUMIC guidelines or prescriptions, then it's similar to the author guidelines. So please tell us more. How did you manage to publish such a lot of articles? And the other tip I also hear you are saying is to follow the article format. So please tell us more.
Okay, thank you, Prof. You know, I was very fortunate. I worked with different staff members in Northwest University, and I've learned a lot from them. I was supervised by Professor Merensia in my master's, and in my PhD, she was a co-promoter, and even now I'm supervising the students with her. I learned a lot from her. I worked with Professor Makado, I worked with Professor Abel Pinar, Professor Iba Manyedi, Professor Rakudu. So all these people, I've learned a lot from them, and I'm still working with some of these colleagues. So, like I always say to staff members in the school, you know, you should identify a person who will mentor you in the school. Even if you have a PhD, but you still need a mentor, someone who has been there, who knows the ins and outs of the university, publication process, and so forth. So in short, I'm saying, for us to have more research output for the School of Nursing, we need collaboration within the school, from other faculties, from other universities in South Africa, even internationally. Like I made an example about, for example, Professor Pina. I still write a lot of articles with him. So collaboration will assist us to have good research output. And that is why I have, let's say, close to 40 articles, because I've been writing with different people, learning from all of them.
Yes, that is a wonderful recommendation, is to work together and collaborate. I think if one works in a team, it helps a lot for motivation and for ideas and for dividing the work and also learning from mentors, as you are saying. I wonder if you have perhaps some advice for some of our colleagues and students who say that it's so overwhelming to get feedback from the journal and one feels discouraged when you get the reviewer feedback. So, how do you suggest we handle that feedback and get our motivation going again? And what are your wise lessons for us?
As researchers, all of us, we have that experience of receiving negative feedback from the journals sometimes. But I always tell people, don't give up. You send it to this journal, they gave you negative feedback from here to two, just do the corrections and resubmit within the time they give you. So by resubmission, if you really attend to their comments, your manuscript will be accepted. But I always say to people, again, we have to be very careful of the journals that we select. I'm not trying to discourage other journals or to market other journals. But I have realized that actually I learned, I can say the hard way. Most of my articles were, are published in South African journals. But I would like to advise, encourage our colleagues to consider the international journals, because nowadays we are talking about the impact factor. I know most of the nursing journals, the impact factor is around 1 point something or below 1. But we have very good international journals where the impact factor is around 5 point something, 4 or 3. So our students should actually try to focus more on those journals. And like as we have mentioned, some of them, they give us very negative feedback, but we should not be discouraged. We should work on those corrections or feedback and resubmit back to the journal. And as I've mentioned, when you work with experienced people in the school, they will be able to assist you how to address those comments from the journals.
No, definitely. I agree that when one works together, that there is a lot of help, because we can get advice from the more experienced researchers that we are collaborating with, and also not to give up. And I agree with you about the international journals. And I think another idea that we need advice for is, how do we identify such an international journal? So perhaps if you have some ideas to share with us about that.
Okay, yeah, thank you for the question. As I've mentioned, working with experienced people, it will assist. Unfortunately, in our Northwest University website, under research, they have a link there for accredited journals. You just write the name of the journal there that you want to publish with, and if it is an accredited one, it will appear. But if it is not accredited, it will not appear. But working with people internationally, it will also assist, because they are known, some of them, by those international journals. But our junior staff should always work with senior people who can assist in identifying relevant journals, because others, they have their names, especially the proprietary journals. their names are almost the same as the accredited ones. So you have to be very, very careful there and check very thoroughly before you make a mistake. If I can make an example, the name of the journal will be the accredited one, Open Nursing, and non-accredited one, it will be Nursing Open, something like this. So students especially have to be very careful when they select the journals. But I'm not discouraging the South African journals. I'm not discouraging, they're also fine, they are accredited, but I was just saying in terms of the impact factor, as staff members, as researchers or students, we should consider high impact factor journals.
Now, thank you for that wise word. And I wonder if you would be available if there are people viewing our conversation and who would like to contact you for further advice, whether you will be available.
Yes, I'm available, Prof. I'm available. And before I forget, the other thing that we have to consider with publication is the focus, our research focus. You know, we make a lot of mistakes by just publishing. For example, I'm a mental health specialist. Most of the articles, I'm not saying I cannot supervise people who are not researching about mental health, substance abuse, and other things. But I'm just trying to say your articles must be within your focus, most of them. And most importantly, a mistake that we are making as senior researchers, we don't write our own articles. We only rely on the work of the students. And I say, in a year, try to write at least 2 or 3 articles where you are the first author or you are the only author for that article. So in short, I'm trying to say, let us not forget ourselves as senior researchers. We must also sit down and write our own articles.
That's a very valuable idea and suggestion. I wonder if someone would like to consider doing that. What would you suggest are some material that we can use to write such an article as an only author or a first author? So where do we get the material from to write such an article?
Okay. You know, it depends, Prof. It really depends. In the past, when I was attending the conferences, I used to write conference report, just a short report of that conference and publish it with an accredited journal. Last month, yes, actually last year, October, the theme for World Mental Health Day was mental health in an equal world. And I sat down and conducted a literature review about that theme of World Mental Health Day. And fortunately, that literature review manuscript is accepted. So for reviews, yes, one can just sit down behind the computer and conduct a very good, you can do your scoping review, your thematic review, and submit it for publication. And if you wrote it very, very well, it will definitely be published. So that is how, or if you have a bigger project, we have objectives there, obviously, then you pick one of the objectives and write alone on those objectives. But most importantly is that let us not forget ourselves as senior researchers by only concentrating on the students' work. We must also write our own articles.
Thank you so much for that valuable information. And I agree with you. If we would like to expand our influence and make a contribution to the field that we are interested in, then it is very meaningful to write an article in our field. And also, what you are saying is that we can be very creative in how we write those articles and be very aware of opportunities and writing down what we see. You're also mentioning that it's a good idea to be connected to the field that you are in, like being aware that there's a mental health month and what the theme of that month or day is, and to link your work to that field and write about that.
Yes, no, it is very important that we do something. But another important thing is the issue of ethics. Even though we are conducting those reviews, but we must always remember that ethical considerations must be there. Don't make a mistake. For example, you use other people's work, you don't acknowledge them, or you do exactly the same thing that was done by somebody else somewhere. That is why I always say, when you write that manuscript, before you submit it, send it for technique just to check whether you are on the safe side in terms of acknowledging the authors of the work that we have used.
Now, that's very important. And it also reminds me that we need to put in some planning when we are writing such an article. So it's not just a question of sitting down, having an idea and writing, but to
No,
plan the research
yes,
integrity and the ethics that goes along with that. And then
yes,
again, that brings us back to collaboration and working together and strategically thinking about writing articles and working together on those.
yes. And the other thing is that we must know some journals don't publish reviews. So that is why that is where the issue of collaboration will assist us. Those senior colleagues will assist in identify relevant journals for those type of reviews or for conference reports. Or if you go to the conference, then you can identify people there, the conference, and write papers with those people. But research integrity is very important. We must not forget when we write our papers.
No, definitely. Thank you so much for sharing these valuable ideas and advice. We really appreciate it, and I believe that your advice will be very helpful to those who listen. And as we said, that they are welcome to contact you. I will put your contact details in the description, and looking forward to further conversations and collaboration with you.
Thank you very much for the opportunity, Prof. I appreciate everything.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.